So the beginning of the end is here as we enter the final 5 of this countdown called India's Top 25. And like we've done every time on this show, we'll take a trip down memory lane again today. We go 21 years back in time and to a destination that we haven't mentioned enough on our countdown. That, by the way, is largely because of how few Indian teams have actually visited that destination in this century. Yes, we are talking about Pakistan and the famous tour to that country by the Indian team in 2004. The tour was a memorable one right from the beginning, from the time Atal Bihari Vajpayee told them, "Khel bhi jeetiye, dil bhi jeetiye." It was the first time India was visiting Pakistan for a full tour since 1989. But the events, once the tour commenced, made it all the more memorable. And that's the reason it sits so close to the top in our countdown on India's Top 25. Let's begin that. The fierce political rivalry between India and Pakistan, two nations separated at birth, often translated into some ferocious contests in sports in the 20th century, especially at hockey. But when it came to cricket, it didn't always make for an exciting match. The reason? The fear of losing to each other. It was massive. And Test cricket presented an easy way out there. A draw. A contest with no result. But on most occasions, when it wasn't a draw, it was a Pakistan win. Especially if it was a contest in Pakistan. Across 5 tours of Pakistan, from 1954 to 1989, India had, surprisingly, not won a single test in the country. Often so flat were the pitches dished out to Indian bowlers to reduce their effectiveness, it was said that India always returned from Pakistan with a couple of spinners less. Whether or not that is actually accurate, but playing in Pakistan was not something a lot of Indian cricketers enjoyed, in part because of the political climate. Then it all changed in 2004. Indian cricket was on a high when the year 2004 began. Their performance, especially in the Test in Australia, had solidified this team's credentials. But with the beginning of the year, began murmurs of a journey into an uncharted territory. A full-fledged tour of Pakistan, something that hadn't happened in the 90s. And when Pakistan visited India in 1999, and it looked for once that the two countries might resume normal cricketing relations, that Kargil war happened. Well, from there things came down very quickly. But 2004 presented a new opportunity, especially after the match between the two countries in the 2003 World Cup, which proved to be a terrific presentation of how impressive a contest between these two teams can be. And after a lot of deliberation, the team finally set off to play 5 one-day internationals and 3 tests across the border in early March after that meeting with Mr. Vajpayee. Now remember, this team wasn't untouched by pressure in the past. About a year ago, many of them had their houses pelted, their effigies burnt when India's World Cup campaign started on a feeble note. But this was a very different kind of pressure. Having said that, though, one pressure that didn't plague this bunch was the pressure of the past. Except for Sachin Tendulkar, who made his debut in that country, no other Indian cricketer had ever gone to Pakistan before for a full-fledged senior tour. Besides, this was a confident young team that had made it to the final of the World Cup just a year ago. They weren't tainted by history. And so there was the fearlessness of youth combined with this confidence of success. And you could be sure of one thing, the hospitality would be unmatched, but it would be restricted to outside of the field of play, beyond the boundary. Pakistan were going to come hard at them, though. The likes of Shoaib Akhtar, Inzamam ul Haq, Mohammad Yusuf, Shoaib Malik, Mohammad Sami were not going to make it easy for the visitors. The evidence came in the first match itself, with the opening pair of Sehwag and Tendulkar enduring a fiery spell of pace. But like they'd done a year ago, they met fire with fire. And the team raced to 50 in no time. Then Rahul Dravid in the purplest of patches with the bat. He was a very deep purple in those days. Top scored for India with a 99. A target of 350 in the first ODI itself showed that this team meant business. But it also woke up the giant that Inzamam ul Haq was. He scored a century that threatened to finish the match quickly. In the end though, it came down to 9 runs of the final over with Moeen Khan on strike. Unfortunately for Pakistan, Moeen couldn't emulate his coach Javed Miandad and the team fell short by 5 runs in a dramatic finish. This was probably the best start this tour could have got. And it just kept getting better from India's perspective. Not only the Indian team, but a bunch of 1,000 Indians who had travelled to Pakistan for the series were met with immense warmth and hospitality. On the pitch too, India produced some terrific cricket action with the star-studded batting lineup lighting up the stadiums with their performances. With the ball, 2 youngsters, Irfan Pathan and Lakshmipati Balaji, made a big impression and emerged as crowd favourites too. Remember? Balaji Zara Dheere Chalo. That became a cult song in Pakistan. But most importantly, when the ODI series ended with India winning the decider, a series that was fought hard but played in good spirit came to an end. And on display was everything that the fans could have asked for. From the brilliance of Tendulkar and Inzamam with the bat, to the class of Dravid and Lakshman and the pace of Akhtar and Sami. And the cherry on the top for the general camaraderie between the players. Now, when the test series began, Pakistan were already on the back foot, and that led them to making a big mistake. When the Multan test began, India got the chance to bat on the flattest of tracks because the Pakistani batters had asked for the grass to be shorn off. The result? A triple century by Virender Sehwag that deflated the hosts and gave India an innings win, their first ever on Pakistan soil. Remember the fearlessness I talked about? Sehwag's innings in Multan was built on that edifice. He just loved batting against Pakistan. And while they did bounce back in the next test at Lahore, Rawalpindi saw Rahul Dravid bring out his highest test score, and that flattened Pakistan. So 20 days after completing a historic win in the ODI series, India completed an equally historic test series win as well. And yes, they not only won trophies, they won a lot of hearts too, with their performances and their general conduct on the field. It was an extraordinary tour. A team without the scars of the past had achieved an incredible result. This successful tour of Pakistan somewhat marked the end of a very fruitful 20-month-long period for Team India that had started with their win in the NatWest Trophy in 2002. When Pakistan returned for a tour next year and achieved similar success, it marked the end of that Sourav Ganguly-John Wright era in India in cricket. These two men left the stage with many successes against their names. But to take an Indian team to Pakistan on a historic tour and return with 2 trophies would count as one of the greatest achievements of any Indian coach-captain duo. All right then, as per custom, let's wrap this up with a question for you. When Sachin and Sehwag scored centuries in Multan and Dravid scored another in Rawalpindi, which India batter scored a century in the second test in Lahore? Let me know your answers in the comments below. So thanks for watching and do subscribe to this channel.